Hey, what's up, guys? Sean here with Blue Ridge Silverhound, and we have another edition of the Pocket Change Market Report. This time, we're turning the calendar a page to August. All right, so I usually would drop these on Wednesday, but I figure, let's go ahead and wait one more day and do an August 1st, 2024 edition of the PCMR. And the reason why that this is relevant, well, we're kind of heading into the waning months of the summer time. All right. And most importantly, as we head to that pivotal time of the year, usually it's about that, I don't know, Labor Day ish kind of week where the kids are going back to school. We're considering and looking into what we're going to do for the holiday season. Yeah, very impactful. All right. The coin market, we really don't see the correlation between the change in the seasons and the holidays coming up, but it couldn't be any more important than it is today. And the big reason why is the PCMR kind of like, at this stage of the game of the year, this time of year, it's really important to know what sells. Not everything sells. There's a lot of weird speculative type of shit out there in the marketplace that just kind of came out of nowhere. Like this 2024 Hovita Adar quarter, the In Cod We Trust business. Yeah, guys, that's really not a thing. But every single day we see probably 30 or 40 sold listings, for as low as $20 to as high as $1,000. So what in the world is going on with that? Well, I can tell you this right now, guys. The word cod, the C, is actually a G. It's just the type style that the U.S. Mint used to produce the motto on the coin. It's kind of an ill choice, to be honest with you, but it's not a cod variety. Might be important to know that as we head into the holiday season, where people really do depend on making a few bucks off, some of the more legitimate stuff. So, the whole coin community has been up in arms about this, along with a few other things that the L on rim Lincoln sent. And it seems like this year, 2024, where we're just seeing just an insane amount of these fable kind of fairy tale type varieties and errors out there. And I'm here to tell you, you need to go someplace where you know what it is. All right. What type of errors and varieties should I be looking for? Well, the PCMR by Blue Ridge Silverhound should be one of the top choices, a top 100, I would say. I'm not going to say I'm a top choice, but yeah. Anyways, you can just hear the cringe kind of like madness in my voice about that whole thing. But anyways, yes, it's important that we kind of reset things. We need to know what to look for. I personally know that a few people that I know of actually depend on going out, hitting the pavement, finding some of these coins so they could resell it. And they do a damn good job at it, and they make some pretty good money. And they're looking to continue that tradition going into the holiday season because it's the most busiest time of the year for roll hunts. So, yeah, kind of crazy. August 1st, that's where we're at. And at the same vein, I'm also looking for some of these coins that I could sell on Whatnot. All right, it's my preferred on the fly live format. As a matter of fact, I have a show coming up here in about 45 minutes. Doing kind of a liquidation sale. So if you guys are looking for British coins, this big British collection that we are on the last portion of it, we're going to go ahead and blow it out of here at any cost. So surprise, we have a surprise Thursday show. That's going to run for probably about half an hour to 40 minutes. So join today if you haven't done so already. My referral link is down below. Grab yourself $15 to save on any purchase that you choose, whether that's from me or any one of the great sellers on the platform. So thank you for the little public service announcement on my Whatnot calendar of events for the week. All right. We have shows generally twice a week. So, So let's go ahead and dive right in. This is kind of what makes up the best of the best, the more legitimate errors and varieties to look out for. Starting out with a 1980D Lincoln Memorial cent. This one right here, ladies and gents, we all know what this is. This is a out of collar broad struck error. The collar, which normally holds the coin in place during the strike, and stops it at a certain point during the strike, so that way it maintains the most consistent shape and size. When that collar is not there, the metal flow expands even more further outward, thereby creating this monstrosity here, a coin that probably is more along the size of a standard Jefferson nickel, is exactly that. All right, so this one right here sold for $20. A little bit different date. I don't see 1980Ds out there that much, whether they're off center or broad struck. $20 seems like a pretty good deal, but if you do come across these, say at a coin show or shop, some of those dealers, they don't care too much about these. They'll have it in a bargain bin for $5 or $10. Cha-ching. That's kind of like a huge green flag to go ahead and proceed, buy it, and then resell it if you don't need it in your collection. It's as simple as that. And also look out for anything that I consider or consider to be bulk listings. Now, 2 coins is hardly bulk, all right, but it is more than one. We have 2 off-center struck coins here. One is a Lincoln cent, and another is a Roosevelt dime. It's quite dramatic if you've never seen one, but for a lot of us that deal in this sort of thing, this is kind of like commonplace. So no readable date. We do have full liberty on the Lincoln cent. When we look at the reverse, same thing here. A little bit more design detail. The Lincoln cent is a copper-coated zinc. It's got exposed zinc, probably a hot potato kind of coin that you just want to go ahead and move. So this 2 coin lot ended up selling for $36.99. Now, the big idea is here you would buy any sort of group lot, and if you see the opportunity because you bought it for cheap, then you would turn around and sell the individual coins separately and make money that way. All right, I do that myself, and I do really well. I generally make about 100% profit on the larger groups. But one of the big key takeaways: research the coins before you commit. That's always important, because if you don't do that, you're kind of jumping into pool blind. All right, you don't know what's in there. Next one here doesn't look like anything special, but it is on a wheat cent, and it's something we don't see too much on this particular date. A 5070 with a very shallow-ish sheet clip right there by the date. It does have a little bit of Blakesley effect, which is on the opposite side of the clip, right next to, in between Liberty and In God We Trust right there. So this one right here surprisingly sold for $15. With something that it's a price that we don't typically associate with a single rim clip. Usually those are about $5 or less, but normally we do see them on Lincoln cents and not so much on wheat cents, especially this date. Pretty neat one here. I'm telling you, there is a buttload of repunchment marks on these Civil War nickels, and we have a 45p over p Jefferson. This one is a beaut. The coin, first of all, is in really nice shape, and if you have coin shops that deal in this specific coin in quantity, oh my goodness, boys and girls, you're gonna have a field day cherry picking it. So as a cherry picker and you're looking for inventory to resell, always keep that loop handy, that magnifying glass. You need it. Okay, coin dealers won't care, because they expect you to look at the coin with a fine-tooth comb before you go and purchase it. They want you to be happy. So this one right here features a pretty prominent repunchment mark. The secondary P mint mark is punched south of the primary. This is also referred to as RPM number 2 in the attribution sites like Wexler's and Wiles and things like that. This one sold for $27.95. A coin that customarily in BU condition can be had for about $8 to $10. So depending on what's on there, if you do come across something, pay the $8 to $10, because you'll know you'll make some money off that. And Roosevelt dimes, just all of a sudden, the mint error types of Roosevelt dimes, I'm not saying all of them are. are gaining a little bit of extra interest these days. It could possibly be due to the announcement that the Mint is going to be redesigning the Roosevelt dime in 2026 for the 250th anniversary. I don't know. I'm kind of anticipating, something pretty special there. So, this one right here is 77 Philly is off center. It's pretty easy to see. So it's an out of collar strike. $65.55 was the final sale price, where a similar type of mid error on, say, a Lincoln cent or even a Washington quarter would sell for about half that. So Roosevelt dimes, yeah, there's something special going on here. I can't really put a finger on it, but I would certainly keep an eye out here over the next 12 to 18 months. The closer we get to the release of that 2026 dime, the new design. 1998 Lincoln Memorial Cent. We always have to check in with these little guys because people are finding them left and right in varying degrees of condition. But how much is one that looks like this selling for? And that's the wide AM reverse. All right, the Mint accidentally used a transitional type reverse die that I think was intended for proof coinage. So obviously there's going to be a pretty big gap between A&M and America. This particular example in this condition, which is quite nice, sold for $21. So 99 is the key, and the year 2000 for the wide AM is another plentiful date to find these in. 1943 Canadian cent. All right, crazy looking coin here. It's got lamination issues all throughout. It was probably a clamshell lamination at one point, and then it was split right off the edge there. As you can see, that piece had either been helped along or had fallen off naturally just due to regular circulation wear. But on the other side where the date is, you can actually see some lamination issues on the maple leaf and date as well. So this one right here, we all know Canadian type errors are very desirable right now. This one sold for $43.98. Now, this one here, I just had to add because it's, just a really nice type coin. It's a 1917D. They actually forgot to put the D mint mark in the listing title, so that makes it a little bit tougher date. And it's a type 1. So it's got the different rivets on the shield as exposed Liberty's breasts on there. No chainmail yet. It doesn't have the 3 stars on the reverse. But most notable, the reason why that this one was even added in here was due to this little thing. A tiny, small die crack that's going from the rim through the T and states and just kind of disappears in the field there. But let's not forget, ladies and gents, this is a great type coin and it's in great shape. It looks like a very solid VF30-35 grade. This one ended up selling for $89.20 with 27 bits. Die cracker or not, I have a feeling that it probably would have sold for that as just a regular type coin. Nice one. 1991 Washington quarter. Boy, oh boy, this thing was struck through a ton of grease. Consider it the whole can of grease or the whole tube of grease that they applied on that die. Man, that thing really did a number on any subsequent coins that were struck by the die that had a bunch of grease on it, like this one. So yeah, when they're this dramatic, it's kind of hard to believe there's no grease on the reverse as well. It's very well struck. This one right here sold for $63.40, and that's quite a bit more than some of the other strike-through greasers that I've seen in my time. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty gosh darn good right here. And if you come across any of these, and don't say you don't come across them, look at the condition of this thing. This thing has spent years out in circulation, so it's absolutely no excuse that if you don't find one, maybe you're either A, not being proactive in hunting for these or skipping over them, or you're just not buying enough coins to go through, right? It's a numbers game. The more quantity you go through, the better your odds are at finding some of the really nasty stuff like this one. This one really cool. I love this one. 1960D Lincoln Memorial Cent that was struck on a split planchet. So this one right here, according to the seller, weighs 1.5 grams, whereas the standard 1960D bronze or copper cent weighs 3.1 grams. So it's half. It's half the normal weight of a Lincoln cent. So you can see there on the reverse, and this is why I like about coins that you know were struck on split planchets. You get to see some of that kind of like the striations. It's like splitting a piece of wood in half, and that's what you would see. This is the result of a coin being split in half from the edge, and then subsequently struck on. So it's going to be a very weak strike because the new coin, the planchet, is a lot thinner. All right, and then since the mint presses are calibrated to a specific pressure based off of the thickness of the 3.1 plans, one that's going to be a lot thinner is not going to strike up the whole thing. So this one here, $53.99. Great buy in my estimation. It's a really nice high grade piece as well. So there wasn't much in the way of currency, but the few that are in here, I'm glad to just add them. 1935E, $1 silver certificate. Yeah, it's got a couple gutter folds, as you can see. The subject sheet had a few wrinkles. It was printed over. This is a byproduct here. So sometimes you could come across one of these in a random stack of very well circulated silver certificates. You won't know it until you kind of stretch them out a little bit. They do the two-handed kind of snap with the bill. And, stuff like this can reveal itself. At first glance, they're hard to look for, especially if they're really well circulated. You would think it'd just be a paper wrinkle. On the reverse, no gutter, just showing you the outer kind of like border of the whole note. This thing really looks messed up. And rightfully so. The gutters really change the overall shape of the note. So this one right here sold for $55.39 with 11 bits. Pretty fair offer there. They usually is the going rate for gutter folds, especially one like this, even on a very well used and abused piece. Another great one here. I'm telling you, we had some pretty cool stuff this week. 1897 Indian head cent. There's one specific thing to be on the lookout for on this, and that's that one in neck misplaced date punch. This coin, look at it. This thing has 99 problems, and cleaning is probably all of them. This thing is polished like a turd. But when we look up close, that is actually the top flag of the one sticking out of the neck. Now, why does things like this happen? Well, it's not so common knowledge that mint employees back in the heyday, they used to test out certain areas of the die by punching a digit. And keep in mind, the digits were all punched by hand individually on the working die. All right, so misplaced dates and repunch dates were pretty easy to spot. So they would punch a number into some of the more busier parts of the coin. In the hair, in drapery, in the denticles, things like that. So this was a pretty obvious misplaced date. I believe this is also the Snow 1 variety. It's also in the Cherry Picker's Guide. It's a very nice one. So one in even this condition ended up selling for $40. So if you're at a coin shop and they have a whole bunch of Indian head cents and they just don't care to look for things like this, that's an area on the neck that's usually gummed up with grease anyways, so it's definitely worth looking for it. This is a very well-known variety. We have a 2017 $2 bill. Now, this is a common issue on these. They do come up, and every so often we do see some that do sell on eBay, and here this one has the solid over inked star. It's the top right star. Now, there is an individual that also has a YouTube channel somewhere out in the world. I'm not going to mention names. They said that this is nothing. How can it be nothing if the premier paper money graders like PMG and PCGS banknote designate that over inked star? Kind of interesting. And furthermore, the note is not worth $0. It's worth at least $2, but most importantly, with the over inked star, This particular one sold for $40.96 with 7 bids. And usually, if you come across one, you'll find more, especially on in a bank strap. So that's kind of like one of the chasers out there. Finding an original BEP strap that has a bunch of stars in it, and they're all going to be the same block. They're all going to be over inked. And if you do come across it, that's quite a nice haul, and just enjoy the money, flip each one individually, and then that's where you're going to make the most money. Cool one here. If you were just looking at the front of the coin, you'd figure, oh, that thing is, off center. But when you look at the reverse, it's perfectly centered. So what gives here? This is actually a 1983 Jefferson nickel that was struck with misaligned die. The obverse die was a little loose. It had a little play to it. So when it did strike this coin, that obverse die was not plumbed with the anvil die, which is probably in this case the reverse die. So things like this does happen. All right, so make sure that you're flipping the coin over and looking at the other side. This one right here sold for $25.50 with 11 bids. Really nice coin. Here's one of my favorites. I actually owned a few of these. 1970D Washington quarter that was struck on dime thickness stock. Kind of crazy. Yeah, it is as thin as a dime. And it's only the 1970D that you can find these in. Now, there is an obvious weight difference. This one right here weighs 4.28 grams, which is quite a bit less than what a standard Washington quarter weighs. And you're going to notice some pretty weak struck areas on the obverse and reverse of the coin because, again, like that coin that we talked about earlier being struck on a split planchet, this one is a lot thinner than a standard Washington quarter thickness planchet. So there's going to be obvious, not a full strike because the machines were calibrated to a certain pressure dependent on the thickness of the coin. So 4.28, and there you go. Pretty glaring difference between one and the other. The bottom coin is a regular Washington quarter. This one sold for $40 with 21 bids. Quite a bargain considering that these usually go for about $75 to $80. So it's like 50% off sale. Someone did really good here, and the coin is in phenomenal shape. 1972 Lincoln Memorial Cent. Yep, pretty nice doubled die on this one. This is actually the FS 108 variety. You can see the doubling here on the date, all liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." Very, very nice. Very dramatic. Always check your 72 Philly Lincolns, especially on the obverse. There's a bunch of possibility here with this date. $81.37 with 3 bids, and the coin is a very nice red condition piece. That is, ladies and gentlemen, a Type 2 blank planchet. But for what coin, though? Could it be a nickel? Could it be a quarter? Actually, no. None of those. This is actually a blank planchet for an Ike dollar. This is a massive gray disc right here. Now, they call it Type 2 because it has upset rims. You can see kind of like when you get to the edge of the planchet, there's a rim forming there. So these coins, or the planchets rather, had been served through the upsetting mill that created that. It helps with the strike, all right, and the metal flow. So this one right here ended up selling for $65. Some of the more obscure blank planchets do have more value compared to, say, Lincoln cents and, nickel planchets and things like that, which are quite common. 1997 Lincoln Memorial Cent. Shoot, if it wasn't for the splotchy stains on this one, it would be a pretty magnificent coin. It's the FS 101 doubled ear variety. We've actually seen a few of these, and it's like one heartbreaker after another. Either the coin's in too low a condition, or it's a nice shape like this one, but it has that kind of like glaring bullseye kind of thing happening with it, and that's this one. It sold for $27.08 with 4 bids. If it wasn't for the staining, it probably could have been a $80 to $100 coin very easily. 1960 silver Roosevelt dime with a lamination issue, as you can see on the reverse. Silver, early 90% silver coins are not immune to things like this either. All we thought is, oh, the copper nickel clads. That's where you're going to find your clamshells and your laminations, which is, a clamshell is a lamination. This one right here, pretty easy to see on the reverse there, that the layer is like coming at the seams here. This one sold for $70. Again, there's something happening with Roosevelt dimes. I just can't put a finger on it. I'm kind of using the excuse that the new design is really injecting some extra interest in these. I don't know. Here's one that I haven't seen since last year. These come up maybe once, twice a year. Now, the Washington quarter with the non-readable date, with the big cud covering it, the big die break, those are actually very common, you know? But on this one has the secondary cud die break above the T in Liberty. Oh my goodness, this is scarce. I've probably seen in total over the years maybe 5 or 6 of these, and we're talking like a span of 15, 20 years. This is an extremely terminal state of this die at this point when there's 2 cuts on there. So I wasn't at all surprised. I figure it probably could have gone up higher, because it is kind of like that once per year shot of finding these. $183.36 was the sale price. I think the last one was like a couple $100. So yeah, if you do find these, always be wary that the other secondary cut above the T in Liberty kind of makes this one worth about 3 times its normal value. Little bit of a bulletin for you. 1940s Lincoln Wheat Cent. This is a pretty nice coin. It's got an awesome repunch mint mark. As you can see here, the secondary mint mark is punched east of the primary. Good job to Brian, showcasing. He's the seller of this one on eBay, by the way, with the arrows showing what we're looking at. All right, so this one sold for $43.90. Fantastic high end specimen, and nice sale here too. Speaking of cuts, we all know the 1984 massive heart attack cut is what I call it on the reverse. Man, oh man, this thing is nuts. I mean, this die, how do they let the die go this far south is beyond me. But there you go, guys. This is one of the bigger cuts that exists out there. So this one sold for $260, which is a very princely sum of money, considering it has been through quite a few hands. Yeah, this is a circulation piece if I've ever seen it. And the first kind of train of thought for a lot of people is going to be, boy, this thing took a major hit. Like, this one is damaged. And that's going to be the common, misconception of this one. So congratulations to to both the buyer and the seller. This is just a wild cut die break. Another one, not quite to the extent of the previous one. We don't know what date this is. It's the 1990s, something or another. You can see the cut is right over the last day of the date. This one sold for $24.36. Could have sold for more, but hey, guess what? Condition really kind of still does matter, even on mint errors. How did I miss this one? I wish another one of these would be on sale, but no, because I need another one. 1960 D over D, and it's the small over large date. This is the dual variety phenomenon that is just picking up more steam, and my goodness, this coin is gorgeous. Fully lustrous mint state red beauty. It's the FS 501 and the FS 101 all wrapped up into one. Again, kudos to the seller. I think it's Brian again on this one, showing the small over large date, and the RPM is right over the primary mint mark right there, just about touching the 9. So this one sold for $123.90. If this thing comes back in a 65 grade, that's going to be like a $400 or $500 coin. Again, why I miss this one, because I'm always looking for another one, is beyond me. I don't know. This one will haunt my dreams for a few weeks. And the final coin just kind of like snuck up on there. It might be the underwhelming photos. 1984 Lincoln Memorial set, doubled die obverse. This is the doubled ear FS101. Sure, it does have a couple carbon spots on the obverse, but overall, it's still a nice mid state red coin, I would say. And yeah, there you go. The doubled earlobe. Pretty easy to spot and very strong. There's nothing else like it. 150 bucks for this one. So I'd say that's a fair amount of money for this example. Very nice. Very nice group of coins. Again, information provided is for educational use only. None of this is financial advice. Please do grade and or collect responsibly as always. I'm your host Sean with Blue Ridge Silverhound. It was a pleasure. I'm going to be jumping on to my whatnot stream here in a few moments. It starts at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. I hope you guys had a wonderful time, and hopefully you got a little inspiration to go out there and do some hunts, because that's what's important and that's what makes it fun. I'll see you guys later. Happy hunting and best of luck.